Good morning. Guhan is my name. I work as a clinical tutor in radiation oncology in St. Luke's in Dublin. I'd like to thank the ROECSG committee for giving me the opportunity in presenting our experience of setting up content workshops for our trainees here in Ireland. Before I talk about the content workshops, a brief background to training in Ireland. We are a small country of 5 million people, 1 million of whom live in and around Dublin. To put it in context, size-wise, we are the country of Ireland would fit into the state of Indiana in the US. We have 3 training sites in Dublin, all part of the St. Luke's Radiation Oncology Network, a standalone site in Rathgar, and 2 attached to university hospitals in St. James's and Beaumont. We also have another training site in the south of the country in Cork, attached to the university hospital there, and a 5th center in Galway, attached to a university hospital there in the west. Radiation oncology training in Ireland has evolved over the last 20 years, starting off with 1 training site when the training scheme was formally commenced in 2002. We had 6 trainees then. This has evolved over the last 2 decades into the 5 training sites that we have now. In parallel, radiation oncology services have expanded exponentially over the last 20 years. And with the introduction of more advanced radiotherapy techniques in the last 8 to 9 years, this has necessitated a significant upskilling in the counting expertise required in different tumor sites. So we currently have 22 specialist registrars or trainees at any given time. 14 are based in Dublin, 4 in Cork, and 4 in Galway. It's a 5-year training scheme, which culminates in the issue of the CSCST by the Faculty of Radiologists and Radiation Oncologists at the RCSI. All our trainees invariably rotate through all 5 centers and all major tumor sites at some point on the training scheme. And progression through the scheme depends on the trainees successfully hitting their targets in terms of predetermined progression criteria. This table summarizes the progression criteria. This is still a work in progress, actually, and this is in keeping with our recent revision of our national training curriculum, and that's to mirror all the recent and ongoing advances in both radiotherapy techniques and education. Indeed, our experience in redesigning our national training curriculum was presented at this ROECSG meeting last year by one of our trainees, Neil Wallace, and by Jill Nicholson at ASTRO 2022. This is a busy slide, I know, but if you look at this column here, it shows the minimum clinical assessments that the trainees are required to complete. And as part of this, they are required to submit DOPS forms, which are direct observation of radiotherapy planning skills, which assesses their competencies in CONTRAN. This table simplifies this further into 3 phases, and as you can see, the progression through the 3 phases are all linked to successful completion of both parts of the fellowship exam, as well as showing adequate competencies in CONTRAN skills in different tumor sites. And these tumor sites have been divided into 4 tiers based on their year of training. So it was on this background we thought long and hard about how we enhance the CONTRAN experience for our trainees. We know that a key component of training in radiation oncology is gaining knowledge in CONTRAN tumor volumes and organs at risk. Trainees rotate through different tumor sites and are expected to acquire these competencies and CONTRAN skills in tumor sites appropriate to their year of training. And we also know that these skills are mostly acquired in an unstructured manner during supervised clinical work. We also know that there is a lot of inter and intra-observer variability in CONTRAN, and trainees often struggle to learn this skill, and this is due to the variability in practice amongst their senior colleagues or consultants. Research has shown that interactive CONTRAN sessions or workshops can improve the technicality and standardization of CONTRAN. So between April 2019 and March 2022, we ran 8 CONTRAN workshops. 3 were in-person workshops pre-COVID, 2 were done virtually via Zoom during the pandemic. The type of tumor site that we chose for the CONTRAN workshops to a certain extent depended on the availability of the consultants or the attendings. But in the end, we ended up running 3 in head and neck, 2 in saber lung, 1 each in prostate, breast, and esophagus. The workshops were loosely based on the Peyton's 4-step teaching approach on skill acquisition. They were 2 hours long, and it was conducted by either 1 or 2 consultants are attending, and me as a clinical tutor. It was limited to 10 to 12 trainees each. The format started off with a brief PowerPoint tutorial on the tumor site, followed by a contouring demonstration on an index case by the attending on the Eclipse planning platform, which is what we use for all our planning and contouring. And we used published contouring atlases as reference. The trainees had access to a copy of the same case throughout the workshop and were given time to contour each OAR or tumor volume as applicable. Their contours were then reviewed individually and collectively, and feedback on the contouring experience was collected through an anonymous questionnaire after the workshop from each trainee. So these 2 pictures give you an idea of how we ran the contouring workshop. So the picture on the left shows the consultant doing the initial PowerPoint tutorial on the tumor site. This was followed by a demonstration of the contouring on her own PC. And we then had the trainees contouring this on the same case on their own PCs. And as I said, because we had about 3 tutors in each session with about 12 trainees, it worked out to a 1:4 ratio. The tutors were then able to walk around to each screen and provide feedback on the contours that the trainees have done. This is a screenshot of the feedback form that we used, and some of the questions we asked were really in terms of whether the trainees felt these workshops were relevant to their daily practice, and we also asked them to rate their confidence levels in that particular tumor site before and after the workshop. So it was really a very subjective assessment. So the 8 workshops were attended by an average of 12 trainees, ranging between 10 to 14. Their subjective level of confidence in contouring that tumor site improved significantly from an average of 5.6 out of 10 to 8.7. And this is average out over the 8 workshops, irrespective of tumor site. Regardless of the year of training, all trainees rated the content and format of the workshop highly and stated they were relevant to their daily practice. And they strongly supported incorporating this approach to teaching contouring skills into the curriculum. So in summary, the aim of these workshops was really to enhance the learning experience through interaction, feedback, and reflection. A key component of these workshops was instant feedback, as the trainees could compare their contours to that of the tutors, and the tutors were available to discuss any differences during the session. Based on the overall feedback, these contouring workshops are now being integrated into the recently revised higher specialist training curriculum on a more structured basis. And this will hopefully ensure that trainees will continue to develop progressive expertise in contouring skills in keeping with best international practice as they advance through the higher specialist training school. These are some of my references. Obviously, setting up these workshops involved a huge amount of work, and I'd like to thank all the people listed on this slide, in particular, Ola McArdle for all her help and support, Dan Foley for his help in the software and anonymizing the innumerable cases we use for the workshop, and of course, our trainees, Jill, Neil, Ola, and Emma for their help at different stages. Before I finish, I'd just like to thank the ROECSG committee again for this opportunity. Thanks for listening and happy to take any comments. Thank you.